Well, welcome to your In Depth, where we break down and walk through our favorite fictional universes. I may have said that backwards. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I lead with breakdown or walk through, but Evan threw me off guard, so I'm not thinking straight. um, but anyway, yeah, we're gonna be covering part two of the Fellowship of the Ring today, which is what is your timestamp right now, Evan?
I am at 1 hour and 40 seconds.
So roughly
For
that until about 2 hours and 5 minutes. So the next hour of the movie, and then next time we will be kind of it'll probably be a longer episode. Will wrap up the movie, but that's where we're at for today. Regarding any Lord of the Rings news, I haven't seen any. Evan, I believe that you have some that we were kind of questioning if we've shared yet, but it's pretty well the only. I guess it's probably one of the more prominent things
yeah,
that has been announced lately. So it's just kind of like maybe we said it, maybe not. But go ahead, Evan.
and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, at least part of it. And if I didn't, I guess I'm mentioning it now.
Yeah.
Amazon has been working on a Lord of the Rings spin-off TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, supposed to take place, I believe, in the Second Age. And to give context, the Lord of the Rings trilogy takes place like 3,000 years into the Third Age. So it's a pretty, very large time difference, you know. Um,
Hmm.
but they've been working on that for a while, and they have a launch date for it, which is September 8th of 2022, when it'll actually launch and they'll start, um, you know, premiering episodes, airing episodes,
Yeah.
whatever
Hmm.
word that is. But
Airing, or I guess the premiere would be whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
we get what you're saying.
um,
Regardless.
but yeah, that's and I googled, I just googled some Lord of the Rings news just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Cause the most prominent and new stuff, would pop up, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing of
Yeah.
any relevance that has popped up. So I've already mentioned, the Gollum game and the War of the Rohirrim movie. So no
Uh-huh.
updates on those yet. That's the only thing that I saw pop up. I haven't
Okay.
seen anything, going through Facebook or scrolling through looking, Google searching that type of stuff. That's the only thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the only thing really that we've got for you right now. Um, but I guess since that's the case, and we don't really have, I guess, any other announcements, any new. There's no real new reviews on Apple, but just want to encourage you guys. Please give your feedback. Reach out to us. Really, let us know what you think, and it can even be what you dislike about the show. Like we really like doing this, but we also want to grow in any area that we can. So anything that any suggestions, we're pretty open to. I don't want to speak for you necessarily, Evan, but I believe we're in the same boat on that.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially, allegedly.
Okay. Well, anyway, so yeah, there's
Uh,
that. Just wanted
and
to encourage you guys for that, but other than that,
yeah,
um,
and so you've got a recap of what we covered last time, yeah.
I can make one up. I
I
I
can
was just thinking that I don't have one,
I
but
can
I
give the
I can.
recap of what we covered.
All right, we can do that. You
So,
you you do it.
so last episode for Lord of the Rings, we obviously started with the first hour of the movie. We saw the final battle of the Battle of the Last Alliance. That was that really, really big one, right there at the very beginning of the film, where we saw Isildur cut the ring off of Sauron's hand. It got lost, got found, got lost again, got found by Bilbo. Then Frodo got it, obviously. They had the big old birthday party for Bilbo where he left the Shire. And as I had mentioned last time, there's a 17-year time gap between Bilbo leaving the Shire and Frodo leaving the Shire for his adventure. Um, we saw Frodo and Merry and Pippin and Sam all traveling to Bree, where they were supposed to meet Gandalf. Um, and we saw them, kind of running from some Black Riders who we've already prefaced and we know are the 9 ring wraiths or Nazgul. Um, and so they have. It's just been them leaving the Shire and getting to Bree. They have arrived at Bree. They
Mm-hmm.
are in the Prancing Pony Tavern, where they were supposed to meet Gandalf, but he's not here. The barkeep has not seen him in several months. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, well, where's Gandalf at? And
Right.
we left off with Frodo asking the barkeep about a hooded figure in the corner of the tavern watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And the last line we got before we ended our last episode was the barkeep telling them that he's one of the rangers from the north, and he's known as Strider. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Here in the in this territory, I guess, this chunk of land here in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
We really haven't had any significant events yet in the film. I
Yeah,
mean,
not really. It's pretty well set up until
yeah.
this point.
I mean, really,
So
the only significant thing that has been mentioned is, Gandalf mentioned or like confirming to Frodo and really confirming for himself that the ring that Frodo has is the One Ring, the
yeah,
Sauron's ring, the big bad, we gotta destroy it thing.
right.
But I mean, other than that, we haven't hit any significant events, at least not in my opinion,
No, I don't
in the
believe that
film
we
yet.
we have. Yeah. But that does lead us up until this point. So, we open up, or let's open up. I guess it really just picks up. It's not like a new scene or whatever, but we are in that bar, or tavern, I guess probably maybe more accurate, but the Prancing
Yeah,
Pony. Um, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin are all there. Uh, Strider is over in the corner, as we mentioned, kind of eyeing them down.
yeah,
Um,
and this was the spot that we chose. That you had initially chose, and I definitely agreed was a good spot for us to stop last
yep.
time. Because if people remember back to the last episode of the Battle of Five Armies that we covered,
Mm-hmm.
Thranduil had mentioned to Legolas that Legolas should travel and meet the Dunedain to meet a young man who goes by the name of Strider.
Right. So
And
there's a bit of a
so,
connection. Well, there's obviously a connection
yeah, with
there.
stopping here, we kind of thought this was a good spot to stop because we had that
Right.
reference from The Hobbit. Stopping right here as we are told, hey, this guy is known as Strider, so it's like
Yep.
probably a pretty good chance there's a connection there. Probably pretty good chance to talk about the same people.
Yeah.
So
Um, but we see Frodo, and he is fiddling with the ring. He's almost like becoming entranced
yeah,
by it, and actually the ring, we can hear it whispering Baggins.
yeah,
So it's
and
definitely connecting to him and toying with him, trying to get him to
well,
get
and
it to.
and the subtitles even say "voice of the ring," like
Yeah.
in like
Yep.
quotes or in brackets, "voice of the ring" saying Baggins. And even here it says "voice of the ring" speaking in black speech too. And so like Frodo is actually
Yeah.
like, whether he's like actually hearing it or if it's just in his head, it doesn't really specify. But it's definitely like you
No,
said, it's
but
definitely kind of toying with him.
right. Yeah.
Um,
But then we hear Pippin over talking to some dudes, and he's just fully disclosing Frodo's identity.
yeah,
We hear him like, "Oh, Frodo Baggins, yeah, I know him," like or whatever, and like or
yeah.
something like that, and he's like pointing him out, and Frodo's like, "Oh no," like
Well,
freaking out.
and so we do
And
actually get a little bit of information too, which is not significant in any way, mind you, but it's a little bit of information about
okay,
Pippin and Frodo are actually related.
oh right, yeah,
Yeah, which I mean, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing important, but I think it's kind of cool that Pippin's simply just talking just to talk.
yeah,
But we're getting
he
a little
really
bit of
is. He's
relation
not,
here. And I think it's kind of funny. He's my cousin once removed on his mother's side,
yeah,
and my third cousin twice removed. So they're cousins and third cousins. I don't know how that works, but
Yeah,
okay.
I don't. Yeah, I couldn't try to piece together that family tree,
Yeah, like
but it's yeah. So he's saying that it's not just this like oblivious like you know out of like putting Frodo in harm's way or whatever. He's just chatting up and being like, oh yeah, this is my family kind of thing.
yeah,
It's not so
it's
much like that's him over there, get him, you know.
well,
Um,
and there is significance to this as well, though, because like the way Pippin starts it, it's this question, Baggins? Yeah, I know a Baggins. Like someone's asking him specifically.
yeah, and that was another thing. It's like, well, somebody is, yeah, asking about him.
Yeah, so it's not even like he's just like, oh yeah, my family's here. That's Frodo Baggins over there. He's my family. Yeah, it's no. Someone asked him about a Baggins, and he is now confirming that yeah, there's one here. Yes,
Yeah,
there is, 100%. Yeah, you're right. You're looking for one. He's right over there, man. And Pippin
yeah.
obviously has no idea what he's the about the weight of this question. He doesn't
No,
have like
he
the
doesn't.
he's not aware
Yeah,
of like the realness to the question, I guess.
right. And if I'm not mistaken, he has no idea what quest they're trying to go on. Like
Yeah,
because Sam was there and like was eavesdropping, so he knows what's up. But then these two they just kind of ran into and carried
yeah.
along, and then so and then of course they got chased a little bit by the Nazgul, but
But Merry and Pippin they don't have really any of the info. They don't know that Frodo has the ring. They probably don't even know that there is a ring. And if they
right, they
did,
have
they don't know the
absolutely no idea.
significance of it. They don't know what that means. They don't have the backstory for it. Like they are completely oblivious to what's going on as of this moment.
Right. Um, but then as he's doing that, Frodo kind of stumbles a little bit. He falls backwards, and I want to say, I mean, well, actually, in The Hobbit, it was a similar situation. Somehow, he falls back, lets go of the ring, and miraculously, it just falls onto his finger.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it does
and
happen here. He becomes invisible, as we see as being part of the effects of the ring.
and from movie to book, this scene is a little different.
Hmm.
Um, so in the movie here, it's kind of portrayed as Frodo's trying to stop Pippin from saying anything else. But in the
Mm-hmm.
book, what is going on is Frodo is standing on a table singing a song there in the tavern,
Oh,
and he slips and falls off the table, and the ring lands on his finger that way. Whereas in this one,
interesting.
it's more of a serious like, no, shut up, you idiot, stop talking. Whereas in
Yeah,
the
they tried
in the
to.
book, it's like, oh, we're singing and having a great time. Oh shoot, I slipped. Ring. Oops.
Yeah, it's kind of like I feel like some of these decisions for the movie are for sure for like suspense, but it's kind of interesting seeing the
Yeah.
differences. But yeah,
And
so he becomes invisible. Go ahead. Hey, you. I think
yeah,
we're about to say
and
something.
I don't remember if I said it in the last covering or not either. Um, but another big change from the movies to books, where a lot of stuff got left out, was the Hobbit's journey to Bree.
Mm.
So there's a whole section left out. So this is rewinding back, and I apologize for it because I should have covered it the last time, and I totally forgot about it. But that whole thing where Frodo and Sam see the elves, and I had mentioned the changes with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Yeah.
big changes is in the books, the hobbits are on their way to Bree, and they go through the Dunlands and the Dunlands, yeah, and
Yeah.
they actually stumble onto barrow mounds, like essentially like Indian burial mounds or Indian burial grounds, essentially.
Okay.
And like they have this whole interaction with like whites and evil spirits, and they get saved uh, by this almost godlike figure, and this godlike figure's wife, and they get saved and they get sent on to Bree, where none of that is mentioned in the movie. Like you don't see that
Yeah.
you're not even introduced to those characters, not even mentioned. But
Huh.
I kind of mentioned that because for those that are listening to the podcast that have read the books and seen the movies, or just read the books simply, or have only read the books, like there is a lot of differences from book to movie. And so
Mm-hmm.
one thing I'll say before we continue, before I take us off at a different point, I'll just do it now since I'm already off of the track, right?
Yeah.
The way I was told and the way that I go about between the book and movie adventures is think of them as two separate adventures with the same end goal.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of parts where when they were filming the movies, like, we don't have time to include all of this stuff.
Yeah, and there's kind of a practicality to some of it, to where it's like, how
Yeah.
do we even depict this?
And
I
I know I
assume,
went way
or
off from one small little change in the scene we're on, right?
yeah,
But just for future, um,
instinct. Oh,
for for
I'm
future
sorry.
parts and future
It's
references
late.
and stuff, just remember that a lot of the stuff in the books are left out in the films just for purely for time's sake. So, I just want to
Yeah.
preface that now instead of later where I go off at a different point in the coverage. But anyways, we're in the scene. Frodo has just fallen after
Yes,
trying to stop
he-
Pippin from talking. The ring falls on his hand, and as we see, he goes invisible, just as Bilbo did
Right.
with his whole Gollum interaction in The Hobbit.
Yeah. And we cut to the Black Riders, and they now know, well, where Frodo is.
Yeah, and
Because it. Go ahead.
it's like I know I mentioned it before, but it's like I mentioned before when that ring goes on, and with Bilbo we just kind of saw it as we can kind of see that it's messing with him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But now in the Lord of the Rings movies, we truly see the effect of it. Because as it cut to the Black Riders, as you said, they know where he's at now, you know. And it cuts back to Frodo, and the very first subtitle that pops up, and the very first thing you hear, and then this is Sauron saying it, right? It says,
Yeah.
"You cannot hide." So
Right.
with Bilbo, it was just, all right, the ring's messing with him a little bit. But now with Frodo, Sauron is directly speaking to him through
Yeah.
the ring.
But yeah, he says some different things like there is no life in the void. As you said, there's nowhere you can hide.
Yeah.
And at that, Frodo's like, yeah, I'm going to take this thing off. And so he
Yeah.
takes off the ring, and Strider grabs him and drags him upstairs. And kind of like as he's doing this, he says, you draw too much attention to yourself. They talk a little bit, and then the others barge in and threaten Strider. And he replies to Sam saying, you have a stout heart, little hobbit. Like being like, you got some, you got some fight in you.
Yeah, and
Because he's trying to defend Frodo.
well, and
Um,
the Strider even talks with Frodo, as you said, and he even kind of we get the feeling that Strider definitely knows
he knows
what
what's
Frodo
going
is carrying. He knows what Frodo has, right? And we don't at this point we don't get the information of whether Strider's a good or bad guy, right?
Mhm.
We don't get that information
Yeah.
quite yet. And so obviously Frodo is very hesitant. He's very cautious about it, and Strider's like, you carry something precious on you. You're carrying something, and Frodo's like, I carry nothing. I don't have anything. And
Yeah, he's like
Strider's like,
denying it 'cause he's still.
I can move unseen if I wish. Like I can be pretty stealthy if I want to be, but to completely disappear, like that's truly like something else. Like I know you have something powerful on you, type of like inference there.
Yeah. And Strider says they can no longer wait for the wizard. They are coming. Obviously referring to the Black Riders, the Nazgul, the Ring Wraiths, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Bad guys. We see the Black Riders, which I'll just keep calling them that because that's what my notes have. They smash through the gates of that town,
And they literally
of
crushed the gate
Bree.
guard too under it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he goes to open the little portcullis there to see who's approaching, and they just smash right through and crush him.
Yeah. As they come in, everyone hides. Frodo and them are asleep at this point. We've obviously jumped ahead a little bit in the
Yeah, it
timing of
wasn't,
stuff.
and I
And
mean
in
it really
comes
goes from we see some of the townsfolk hiding to the hobbits sleeping. So
yeah. Well, no, I mean not like I'm not saying like we jump ahead in the movie, but the movie itself jumps ahead
oh,
a little
gotcha,
bit because
gotcha,
obviously
yeah,
they're now asleep. Um, but yes, they are asleep. We see them in different. We see lumps in different beds. Like it's just kind of like they're asleep there,
yeah, and
and
we
there's
we see the
these
Black Riders each approach a different bed as
right,
well.
and they approach different all four beds. They raise their swords and plunge them down. Frodo and the others wake up. Obviously, what they were being stabbed, it proves to be just pillows. So it was kind of like they're
Yeah,
leading you to believe that these things are towering over them, but really they're someplace separate.
yeah,
But these
and
things
I mean
are
this is
attempting to stab
definitely
them.
Strider's work, right? Like
Oh
Frodo
yeah.
and Sam, Pippin, and Merry, like they would not have thought to go to a different inn. They would not have thought to go to a different place for the night. And so
Hmm.
Strider, with and he's been alive for a while. He's been around the world. He knows what's what. As a little
Yeah.
bit of not even backstory, but just a little bit of info on him for the listeners. He's been around. He knows what's what. He knows how to survive. You know, um,
Yeah.
like he knows how to go undetected. Like he knows how to trick people and all that kind of stuff. This is
Hmm.
definitely his doing. He is the only reason the four hobbits are alive now. Like
Yeah.
within, I would say an hour of him meeting the four hobbits, he has literally saved their lives.
Oh yeah. But yeah. So a bunch of pillows get stabbed. Frodo asks what these things are. Uh, Strider says they were once men, great kings of men. But then
Yeah,
Sauron the Deceiver gave to them the nine rings of power, and so on, and they fell into darkness. We know the story, but that's
yeah,
them.
and
That
I,
this
I
is
do
them.
wanna I do wanna specify on that as well
Yeah.
because the way that Strider says this is not completely accurate.
Oh, okay.
Because he says they were once great men, great kings of men.
Hmm.
But the little bit of backstory that you get on the Black Riders, right? The little bit of
Okay.
backstory that is given on them in some of the books, because it's not something that's given in the movie.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's been about 2 years now since I read the Fellowship of the Ring, the last time. I don't even think it's given in the Fellowship of the Ring book.
Hmm.
It's on the dozens of other books, lores and stuff on the histories of Middle Earth and all that.
Okay.
The very small amount of info we get on the Black Riders, not all of them were kings. They
Hmm.
all of them were great men. Yes, all of them were very powerful men. Um, but not all of them were kings. Not all of them had kingdoms. Not all of them were, leaders. Some of them were just powerful, like not bandits, but powerful like warlords. Some of them were kings of kingdoms. Yes. One or two of them might have been like very powerful sorcerers. And so with Strider saying that they were all kings of men is a little misleading. It's
Gotcha.
essentially just they were all very powerful men in their own right. Some being warlords, some being kings, some being sorcerers, that type of thing.
Okay.
Uh, just for that clarification, because it is a little misleading on the way that he says that.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's not
Gotcha.
really his fault because there's not a whole lot of backstory on them, anyways. You know,
Hmm.
um, but just for specifications there.
Gotcha. But in this, we also learn that their names, as you've said before, or they're referred to as Nazgul or ring wraiths. And also, I want to comment on these different names, especially with like Strider. They have other names, and it pains me to refer to them in my notes because what I'm wanting to do is refer to them as we know them right
Yeah,
now. You know, I don't want to jump ahead and be like, it's this guy's name, and refer to him constantly. I'm kind of just waiting until it's actually been established in the film to
Yeah,
then switch to what I call them. So I really dislike doing that, especially with Strider, but that's what's kind of going on. So for a while now, I've been saying Black Riders, and
yeah,
I think Evan,
and
you've mentioned that they're Nazgul or whatever, but I've just been really trying to stick to what we know at the moment in the film.
yeah,
Um,
and I am gonna
so
give a little bit of information that's given to us in a later film.
no,
Just because we don't have information on the Black Riders, there's not a whole lot about them anyways.
mm,
Um, but just for clarifications on them before we continue with the film.
yeah,
Um, so with the almost no information we have on the Black Riders anyways,
yeah,
the only information we truly have for backstory and stuff like that is on two of
hmm
them. And one of them, the leader of the Nazgul, and he's given a name in I believe the second movie. No, sorry, the third. He's given a name in the third.
hmm,
And it's not anything significant. It's not a spoiler by any means, right? But one of the
okay,
Black Riders, the leader of the Black Riders, is the Witch King of Angmar, which we have heard of Angmar, and that's why I bring it up. We have heard of Angmar back in The Hobbit. It's mentioned.
hmm,
And so when I was talking in The Hobbit of that whole great war where the kingdom of Angmar and Gundabad came down and took over almost all of Middle Earth, right?
yeah,
The Witch King of Angmar, the leader of the Nazgul, was the leader that led those evil forces.
hmm,
And the only reason that we know at least one of the Ringweight race was some sort of sorcerer is because of his name. The Witch
oh,
King,
okay,
he's a witch, a sorcerer, something, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And the only other one that we have any information on, his name is Kamul, and he was from what we understand and what information we've been given, it's assumed, it's not even confirmed, it's assumed that he was a leader of a kingdom of men in the eastern part of the land, like even further east than Mordor.
I
Um,
see,
and that's really the only information we have on them. Since I was kind of talking about the Black Riders a little bit, um, that's about all the information that we have on the Black
okay,
Riders. Anything that's even close to canon, I guess, because there's plenty of theories
gotcha,
on all 9 of them,
yeah,
but nothing that really has been canonized.
gotcha.
Um,
Um, but yeah, they are neither living nor dead. They feel the presence of the ring, and they never stop hunting.
yeah,
Um, Frodo, Strider, and the others are hiking into the wild now. They've escaped death from those things, and they're taken off. Um, they speak of Strider and say they have no choice but to trust him. Sam
yeah,
asks where he is leading them, and Strider responds with Rivendell to the House of Elrond,
yeah,
which
and
we've know who that is and stuff,
yeah, and I thought it was kind of funny
and
though,
where that
because
is.
when Sam asks that, it's not even like he's asking Strider directly, because the four
Hmm.
hobbits are staying back a little bit, and they're talking about him. They're more or less gossiping about him. Like, can
Yeah,
we really
like we
trust
don't we
him?
don't
Like,
trust
is
this
is he a
guy,
good
like
guy?
kind
How do
of
we
yeah.
know he's Gandalf's friend? Like, why are we just following him?
Yeah,
Type
and
of
he
thing.
hears all of it.
Yeah, and they think they're not that he can't hear him. They think that they're being quiet, but then Sam's like, "Well, where is he even leading us? Like, where are we going?" And then Strider's
And
just
then he
like, "We're going to
speaks up.
Rivendell."
Yeah.
F-. Like, come on, I hear every word you're saying. And
That's funny.
it just cracks me up. It's like they think they're being quiet, they think they're being stealthy, they think that he can't hear them, but in truth, he hears everything they say.
um, but anyway, they keep going. They kind of slow down a little bit, and Strider says there's no stopping until nightfall. Because and I get the impression, obviously, from this next line that it's kind of early in the morning, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Listen, dude, we cannot stop until nightfall. Like we're moving." And then we get that meme moment where it's like, "What about breakfast?" And he's like, "You've had it. One, yes, but what about second breakfast?"
Yeah.
And then they kind of like start discussing food, all the different food events that they that Strider likely knows nothing about. He talks about the different, like, what hobbits
Yeah,
have
and
basically,
right here
and
too. Um,
yeah.
so one thing that I had recently gotten some clarification on, because
Hmm.
as I've talked about even in the last episode, we don't really get a whole lot of like sense of how much time has passed, right?
Yeah.
And since we're in the moment now, right, from the hobbits leaving Bree,
Uh huh.
or sorry, from them leaving Hobbiton, right? From them leaving Hobbiton and traveling to Bree, and then traveling from Bree to Rivendell,
Yeah.
takes about a month.
Okay.
For time clarification, from the moment they left, um, Hobbiton, they left the Shire, to the moment that we will see them enter Rivendell, is
Hmm.
about a month.
Okay.
And as we get to different points in time, where I'll try and specify how much time has passed from when they left. So when they leave Rivendell, because hey, spoiler, they get to Rivendell. Whoa. But I'll try and specify on how much time they spend there, when how much time passes from when they leave there and they get to another key point. I'll try and specify that so
Sure.
we have a little bit of a time sequence.
Yeah. Kind of paints the picture on how much time has passed, because
Yeah,
obviously with from Bilbo leaving the Shire to Frodo, it's like there's no way I would have known that's freaking 17 years, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, and
So I appreciate the kind of time stamping and everything.
yeah, and this is a common thing in all three films, by the way. Like, and we even saw it in the Hobbit too, because it doesn't really specify how much time has passed until we get to the very end and we find out that Bilbo's been gone for over a year. You know,
Yeah.
um, but and I will say this: the events from the very first time the events from the Hobbits leaving the Shire to the end of the Return of the King is roughly, I think it was roughly a year and 3 months, roughly. For long term, here is a time of gap of time that passes for all of the events that we are going to watch and cover happens. It's roughly a year and 3 months, I believe.
Hmm.
And again, I'll try and break that down as to how much time has passed between different events and all that as they come up. But yeah, from Hobbiton to Rivendell is about a month. Um, and we through these kind of several different cuts, we will see the hobbits with Strider traveling through different terrain. Like right now, it looks like they're kind of in a little bit of a foresty area. We see them kind of go into a little bit of a swampy area as well.
Hmm.
Um, but we really don't get that sense of time, of like how much time has
Yeah.
passed. So I mean, for all you know, if you just watch the films, everything happened in 3 weeks. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Right. But
and so one thing with the extended editions as well. Um, so here, as I have the movie playing, they're in their little swampy area, and we get kind of Mary kind of complaining about the flies. We see them camp out here in the little
oh,
swamp area for a
yeah,
night.
this is a little bit further ahead. It's just, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
where I left off was them talking about the food. Strider tosses them some fruit, and Mary catches one, gives it to Pippin. Another one strikes Pippin, and then they continue
yeah,
on, and then
and
they appear in the swamp, and there
yeah,
we
and
are.
it's like it's literally from Mary handing Pippin that apple to okay, here's a scene of them kind of going through a little bit of a it looks a little snowy, but we still see some green on the ground. To okay, they're
Mm-hmm.
going through a swamp. Mary complains about the flies, like just like a little passing comment. And we do see them now here camping in the swamp. And if I'm not mistaken, it's been a long time since I've seen the theatric versions of these.
Hmm.
But I'm like 99% sure. This point right here, where we see them camping in the swamp, and we
Yeah,
hear Strider singing a song. This is all extended edition stuff.
and really, it falls right in line with the type of stuff that would be an extended
Yeah,
edition, you know. Right before this, though, Strider does haul in a deer, so he's done some hunting, so they can eat and
yeah.
everything, and
But we do
but
see Strider singing a
yeah,
song, and Frodo kind of wakes up and asks about it. He asks like, "Who is she?"
yeah,
Referring to the woman that Strider is singing about. Um, and Strider says, "'Tis the Lady of Luthien," which is
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of information about Luthien. I'm not really sure. All I can assume is it's an older elven kingdom or an old elven
Sounds
kingdom
like it
that
was
might be
named by
gone
Mike
now.
Tyson.
I'm not sure.
Did you hear me?
What's that?
I said it sounds like it was named by Mike Tyson. Luthien. I don't know what it would be like actually like what the
Yeah.
translation would be, but whatever. I'm just being stupid. Go ahead.
Um. And I mean, it does say sorry. Cut it.
Okay.
I actually said his name, and we haven't gotten it yet. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Okay. What did you
Uh,
say?
So I said even says, and I was like,
Oh,
oops. um.
all right. I
Anyways,
jotted it down. It's okay.
okay. Strider even says, that the woman he's singing about is the elf maiden who gave her love to Baron, a mortal.
Yeah.
Um, and the only sort of information I have on that is, Baron was a man. He was not an elf. He was like he was a man that an elf fell in love with.
Was he mortal?
Probs,
He said it. I'm
potentially,
just being
allegedly.
stupid. Yeah.
Frodo asks what
Potentially.
happened to her, and Strider simply says she died.
Yeah.
And
She got knocked up.
yeah. um, in this scene though, it kind of confuses me because I don't have a whole lot of information on these people that he's referring to.
Yeah.
Because the look on his face is like one of sadness to the point of like he knew them.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's confusing me as I'm watching it because I never kind of made that relation in my previous times watching these films.
Hmm.
But like, and now it's bothering me that I really don't know who they are. I don't have the information on them because like he Strider genuinely looks like he knew these people that he's referring to, and the fact and that she is now dead. Like it looks like that is like hurting him on a personal level. Like he knew them intimately or like had a very good whether they were friends or what, whatever their relation might have been if there is even one, but it that's the way that it's coming across to me.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean what he's showing, as far as how he's, yeah, it seems that way. But he tells Frodo to get some sleep, and then we cut to Saruman speaking to Sauron, because yeah, in the last one, didn't we discovered that Saruman's bad, right? I'm not
Yeah, in
missing
the
something,
last
right?
the last the first part of our coverage, we had the whole scene with Saruman and Gandalf having their little wizard
Right.
battle, and
Okay.
finding out
Yep.
that Saruman has now fallen to the dark side of the Force.
Yeah. Um. So
Dang
yeah,
it,
he's talking to
Dooku!
Sauron.
Happened again.
In, in come some orcs asking for orders, and Saruman says that they have some work to do. We
Yeah, and
then
as
see the orcs just uprooting some trees.
yeah, and
Uh,
because Sauron has instructed Saruman to build him an army, as Sauron says it, worthy of Mordor.
hmm,
Um, and so, as you said, we see the orcs getting to work, and as we saw Isengard when Gandalf had first approached, it was, all green and lush with life and
hmm,
all that kind of stuff. And now we truly see the change of Saruman as he's
yeah,
having all these orcs tear all that down, and he's creating, you know, essentially industry. He's creating
yeah,
um, more or less like I don't even know how to put it. I can't even think of the words. It's like breeding grounds more or less.
yeah,
Um, and because as we'll see in a later scene, um, orcs in general
hmm,
are not like they don't reproduce like people.
yeah,
They're more or less grown in the ground. They're It's like,
Yeah, and we do see a bit of that in a bit.
yeah, and it's a
So,
weird process that even now there's not a whole lot of information
hmm,
on how more orcs are produced. At least not that
interesting.
I'm aware of.
I see. Well,
Um, but it
yeah,
has something to
but
do. It's some way somehow grown in the ground type of thing, and because as we're given some information, I don't remember if we've gotten it or not, but I'll just say it. The first orcs came from elves. Like elves were captured and tortured and turned into orcs.
hmm,
But other than that, we don't know really how orcs come to be. So it's
gotcha.
really weird with this whole thing. But all we know is Saruman is basically destroying his home, you know,
Yeah,
to create this army for Sauron.
right. And then we cut back though to Strider and the hobbits. Um, Strider points out the great watchtower of Amon Sul,
That's pretty close.
where okay,
Amon, A takes kind of an O sound to it, but that was pretty solid.
Amon, Amon Sul, Soul.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
Amon
know,
Sul.
man.
Yeah, you
Pronunciations
were
and
like
stuff.
you were pretty dang close.
Well, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
where they will rest for the night.
yeah.
Strider pulls out 4 swords and gives them to the hobbits.
And so
Um, yeah.
again, these 4 swords don't seem like much. Essentially 4 daggers, really, but for hobbits they're
Wow.
swords. Um,
Yeah.
but these 4 blades are actually very ancient and they've got magic to them,
Hmm.
which again is not specified in the movies, but it is specified in the books. Um, they were created by the Dunedain, who are an ancient race, and I've talked about them a little bit in previous episodes. But they do have some sort of magic to them. They're more than just a couple daggers that they gave to the hobbits.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
I guess, yeah, just kind of keep that in mind, I guess.
Okay. Um, but Frodo wakes up and sees that the hobbits are around a campfire. He panics, yelling at them to put it out and calls them fools. And yeah, I mean, we see why he wanted them to put it out
Yeah,
because the Nazgul see it and approach them. They close in on them. Sam lunges at one of them to try to attack it, and he gets just smacked aside.
yeah.
Um,
And before we continue, before we get into this scene real quick,
Evan,
I just
I'm
want
just
to
kidding. Go
mention
ahead.
because Amon Sul itself,
Uh-huh.
we have seen this before, this exact location.
Okay.
Back in The Hobbit, which in the books it's different, so whatever. But in the Hobbit films, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's in the first movie of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, when we first see Azog. And not the flashback to the Battle of
Oh
Moria.
no, I know what.
But
When
yeah,
you're,
when we
yeah,
first actually see him, and he's
yeah,
got his warg pack around him, and he throws that one orc over the edge, and it gets mauled by the
right.
wargs.
Yep.
They
That's
are
here.
they are here at Amon Sul in that scene of the movie. Like I said, the books are different. That part's not even in the books, but film wise, we've seen this place before.
Interesting. Okay.
And Amon Sul as well, for a little bit of backstory. Before the fall of the Dunedain,
Yeah.
the Dunedain used to be this very powerful, very military strong race of people that lived north of where Bree is located. So they lived. So if you try and picture a little bit of a map, I guess, in your head, so you have the Shire, which is pretty decently west, right?
Okay.
You go from the Shire, you go to Bree, you're heading east. You have the Shire, then you have Bree, and then even further east, right along the mountains, you have Rivendell. You go
Okay.
north of all of that,
Mm-hmm.
you go way north to the other side, so the mountain kind of runs vertically on a map. You get to the very top of that vertical, it then runs horizontal. It makes almost like a T shape.
Hmm.
On the eastern side of that T shape was the entire kingdom of Arnor, I believe it was called. Kind of drawing a blank on the name now. But that's what the Dunedain had, and we're talking hundreds of miles. You have this mountain makes a T shape, and then hundreds of miles further back to the east, even further past the Shire, you have another mountain range going north to south.
Mm.
And basically from just north of like Bree and the Shire and Rivendell,
Mm-hmm.
just north of that, all the way to the very top of this T mountain, all the way back to the east over towards this other mountain range. Like I said, hundreds of miles, east and west, and even hundreds of miles north to south, was the entirety of the kingdom of Arnor. And Amon Sol used to be like their southernmost kind of watchtower.
Mm.
It was like it was their, I guess, like early warning system. It was like their early warning outpost.
Mm.
But with that whole thing with Angmar and Gundabad coming down and taking over and whatnot, the kingdom of Arnor fell, and the Dunedain are very, very weak now. There's not a whole lot of them left, and so obviously this tower was one of the first things to be abandoned
Mm.
um, with the fall of that kingdom.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So
And
this
I hope that
happens.
mental map I tried to paint was easy to picture.
Hmm.
But I don't know. If you're having trouble picturing it, look up a map of Middle Earth and just like
Yeah, really.
go off of the points that I made. Take just north of those of the Shire, Bree, and Rivendell. Follow those mountains that I kind of mentioned, and that's basically your entire kingdom of Arnor before it
Yeah.
fell.
Okay. Well, yeah, the
But
Nazgul see
anyways,
that.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Nazgul come in. Sam kind of starts fighting with
right.
one a little bit,
Gets smacked aside.
um,
Frodo drops his sword and pulls out the ring. He
like a
puts it
little.
on. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know you have to
And
make a note of that, but like,
yeah, well,
just so everybody knows, I cannot stand Frodo.
yeah, you've made it clear.
He is my least favorite character in all of Lord of the Rings. I like the
um,
generic orc more than I like Frodo. Okay.
well, anyway though, so he puts it on to try to become invisible, and when he does, we can see the faces of these
Mm-hmm.
Nazgul. One reaches for the ring, which Frodo resists. He's like, no, and
Yeah.
then gets stabbed in the shoulder. Strider comes in, fights them off. He sets some of them on fire with a torch. He
Yeah.
throws his torch at another one, lighting it up like the 4th of July. Frodo has been stabbed, though, by a Morgul blade.
Yeah, and so
And
that was something I
needs.
wanted to mention. I'm glad that you mentioned it too.
Yeah.
Because now that we've gone through The Hobbit, right? If
Yeah.
you're paying attention, obviously you were, because you mentioned it. But for
Uh-huh.
those listening, if you pay attention, that Morgul blade that Gandalf shows that small council, right? That council,
Mm-hmm. Right.
with Saruman and Elrond and Galadriel.
Yeah.
It's the same type of blade,
Right.
and if you even remember, still who Gandalf said, or I don't remember which one of them said it, but one of them mentioned, I believe it was Galadriel actually. That blade belonged to the Witch King of Angmar, and was buried with him. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yep.
For those that are a little slow on the draw, we can infer, right? We can guess that the one that has just now stabbed Frodo is the Witch King of Angmar.
Yeah.
Again, I am saying we can guess because we don't know.
I would say it's a safe inference, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I did want to mention, too, because we do actually get to see what the Nazgul look like, what the Black Riders look like in their spirit form, right?
Yeah.
When we saw them in The Hobbit, with Elrond and Galadriel and Gandalf and all of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? When Galadriel went and saved Gandalf, they
Yeah.
looked completely different.
Yeah.
They looked 100% different. The reasoning behind that, I don't have a clue. I don't know. I don't know why there's a difference in appearance between those.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is the only reason Frodo can see them as they are, like, all spirity and whatnot, is because he has the ring on.
Right.
So if they were to take those cloaks off, if they were to take their black robe, essentially their clothes off, you wouldn't see them.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't be there.
I see. Well,
But
but
yeah,
Frodo has been.
it's.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just. It's really weird to me, at least, why they look different from the Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings. Um,
Hmm.
and as far as I know, there's no reasoning behind it. But yeah, as you had said, Frodo gets stabbed by a Morgul blade, and as we found out in the Hobbit, with
Right.
Keeley getting shot by a Morgul arrow,
Yep.
there are certain consequences that could arise from this stabbing.
Mm-hmm.
So, just
But
to kind of drive home, I guess, or kind of infer like the deeper
yeah,
meaning of this blade, like
yeah,
it's
and this
dangerous.
will we will touch on because Strider points out what will happen
Yeah.
of Frodo. But immediately it's determined he needs Elvish medicine, which, by the way, does that sound familiar? Um,
Right.
and they continue to move through the forest though, commenting that they're 6 days from Rivendell. Frodo will never make it at that pace.
Yeah.
We then cut back to Saruman's area. They have cleared out some trees. Obviously, we saw them uprooting them, and then dug a mine. So there's like they're working, they're getting stuff going, they're getting
Yeah.
armor, they're getting weapons, they're breeding more, which we I guess see a bit more of later.
Yeah, and
Um,
it is a mine, but it's like a mine slash foundry,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's not simply they're digging for metals, which I'm sure part of it is.
yeah,
But part of it is definitely them building the breeding grounds for more orcs.
right.
It is definitely part of it, but it's definitely a mine as well.
Yeah,
Um, but just for a little bit of more of elaboration on that.
yeah. But a moth flies in up to Gandalf, who
We've
snatches.
seen this before.
Yes, it looks familiar.
Yeah.
He snatches it up. He whispers instruction to the moth and then lets it go. We then see the process of this mine. They've chopped down a bunch of
And real
trees.
quick,
Gotten why?
sorry,
What?
I need to. For the listeners, just remember Lord of the Rings came first. At least film wise. Lord of the Rings came first. So it'll be like, oh, they're copying the Hobbit movies. No, the Hobbit movies are copying Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Yeah.
That's all I had to say. Sorry.
Wow. All right. Well, we then see the process of the mine, right? They've chopped down a bunch of trees. They've created scaffolding with it, fuel furnaces, all this different stuff.
Yeah, they're making weapons, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, they mine, they forge weaponry, and they also hatch more aggressive orcs. And
Yeah,
actually, in
and
this, yeah,
sorry, this is a point where I was like, it's really weird on how orcs are made
well,
because
yeah,
we get this
because
visual.
we do we see this one hatch, and we get introduced to Roid Rage Whoopi Goldberg here, that like just really just is just aggressive. It picks up
Yeah,
another one and like, God, but yeah, like hatches out of the ground. Um,
yeah, and that's why I was saying it's really weird on how orcs are formed and how they are made. 'Cause it's like we see this orc come out of the ground in what looks like some sort of sack or egg, but it's never elaborated on, at least not to my knowledge.
yeah,
It's never elaborated on as to why they came out of the ground in some weird sack-looking thing.
yeah.
Because goblins are breeded. They breed just like any other sort of living being.
Hmm.
Orcs do not.
Interesting.
So, weird.
Yeah, but we cut back to Frodo, and he is struggling. Sam points out Mr. Bilbo's trolls, which we do
Yeah.
see that scene. Um, of the trolls that are stone.
And I think pointing out that Frodo is struggling is an understatement, Jacob.
Oh,
Like,
oh, for
I think
sure.
it's like
And that's why I said
he
it the
is.
way I did.
Ooh.
That's why I said it the way I did. I was like, he
And
is
like,
struggling. Like, dang,
obviously for like filming and whatnot, they put like he has different types of contacts in, but like the character himself, like his eyes are like changing colors. He's got some weird like gunk starting to form on his face.
Yeah.
He's sweating, but he's looks like he's freezing. Like
Yeah.
It's rough.
But Strider says that Frodo is passing into the Shadow Realm. Soon he will be a wraith like them. So we kind of see, and we've outlined it before, but the process of getting, poisoned by this Morgul blade, it's like you
Yeah.
become one of them. Like it transforms and infects you into becoming, part of that Shadow Realm, and in that you become a wraith and really be
Yeah,
neither
and
living nor dead, and
and
all that.
God damn, I did it again. I'm sorry, Jacob.
I will make a note.
Um, and
Soon enough, we'll get
Strider
his name.
even tells Sam to go find the Athelas plant.
Yeah,
Which again,
Ganondorf's mission from The Hobbit. King's foil.
and yes, we've seen this before in The Hobbit since we covered that first. And it's reasons like this though, Jacob, that I really wanted to do Lord of the Rings first.
Hmm.
Just because like, hey, now that we're doing The Hobbit, hey, remember that scene from Lord of the Rings because that came before this? Yeah, yeah. Anyways, um, Strider sends Sam to go find some Athelas plant or King's foil. Um, and we see Strider go and find some as well, and then we see a blade, kind of rest right there under his chin.
Yeah.
And an elven woman speaks to him and is like, strange for a ranger to be caught off his guard. Um, and this is one spot that, and this is a small difference between movie and book, but in the book, um, this elven woman is not the one that shows up here.
Oh, I see. It's just
In
a
the
different
book,
one, different character.
it's an elven lord named. Oh my god, I'm trying to blank on his name now. Look it up. I just had it.
Oh,
Glorfindel. Uh, it was an elven man named Glorfindel that shows up at this point. At this point in events. And and you don't actually see him in the movies. He's a book character. But
gotcha.
he was another one of those elves that was at the Battle of the Last Alliance, that scene that we saw at the very beginning of this film. He was there. We don't see him in that scene here in the movie, but he was there at that battle.
Gotcha.
And he is considered one of the best swordsmen, or not even swordsmen, just warriors in general, in Middle Earth.
Hmm.
He's also one that I'll say is not really giving away anything, but he's one of the people that has trained Strider
Hmm.
and fighting in combat and whatnot. Some of Strider's training came from that elf, one of the greatest warriors in all of Middle Earth. Like, not just as of now, like, in the whole history of.
Hmm.
So, and I'll mention others and stuff like that as we get to those points, but just to give a little bit of insight as to how skilled Strider really is.
Gotcha.
But that is a little bit of a difference. But in the films, we have this elven woman that shows up. And as Frodo sees her, he sees like this light emanating from her, and obviously he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
Like he's in a rough spot. His mind's kind of playing tricks on him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
She
shows
introduces
up
herself
and
though
looks
as
at him and
Arwen.
starts checking him and stuff.
Yeah. But she introduces herself as Arwen. Uh, she's there to help. Asks him to come back to the light. Strider comes in and chews up a weed. I figure that's the King's foil.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
places it on Frodo's wound. Arwen says that they must get him to her father. She says that she is a fast rider. She will take Frodo to her people. Once she gets across the river, her people will protect them. She does not fear them. Referring to the Nazgul.
Yeah, and she even mentions too that there are 5 wraiths chasing these Strider and the hobbits right now.
Right.
But she doesn't know, and obviously we don't know as the viewers where the other 4 are at.
Yeah. But Strider touches her hand as a thank you, which there seems to be some familiarity here between
Yeah,
them. She takes
and
off though.
so I'm trying to think of what they actually say because they start talking in Elvish right before she
Hmm.
takes off, right?
Yeah.
And with the subtitles on, as I like to watch the films and stuff, like all it says is speaking in Elvish,
Right.
but I don't know how to do it. But there's a way that you can. It might just be in the theatric versions, which is if it is, it's some bull crap. But you do actually get to see what they say to each other. It does translate it for you in the film. At least it's supposed
Oh.
to. And I can't think of what they say to each other, but what they do say does solidify that they do know each other, and there is
Oh,
definitely a
okay.
strong relationship there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um,
Well, yeah, so she takes off. She's riding pretty aggressively. In comes a bunch of the wraiths. She takes a hit from a branch, just kind of slices her face. Looks like there's maybe 8 of them. Like there's a lot of them chasing her.
yeah, and
Um,
slowly more. And 'cause, I mean, it starts out at like 2 or 3, and slowly we see more and more. Um, gathering up, chasing her, and it does
mhm.
eventually get to the point where all 9 are after.
Yeah.
Because now that Frodo has been stabbed with the Morgul blade, they don't have to wait for the ring, for him to put the ring on to find him. They can sense that Morgul poison, that Morgul whatever. They can sense the effect on Frodo's body, so they just know where he is at this point.
Yeah.
And so obviously all 9 have been drawn to it. They're all chasing Frodo and Arwen as she's zigzagging between trees and whatnot, trying to get away.
Yeah, and all the while Frodo's just looking like he's right out of the movie Train Spotting. He's oof. But yeah,
But
she
eventually we
finally.
do see Arwen get to a river,
Yep.
or more of a stream, really a wide stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but she gets across, and I'd say she's about 3/4 of the way across, and kind of stops, and none of the Black Riders will enter the stream. They all like pause there.
Mm-hmm. They demand that she gives them the halfling though, and she replies with, "If you want him, come and claim him." Drawing her sword. They do try to approach,
Yeah,
but
it's
she.
almost like the horses didn't want to go into the water. Not so much
Yeah.
the Black Riders, but
Right.
now
Yeah.
the Black Riders are like, "Get going, you little piece of crap! Get in the water. Let's go. We need to get that halfling."
Yeah. And
Uh,
as they approach, though, she speaks Elvish, and the river just comes in roaring from
yeah,
upstream,
and
just taking the form of even like a horse and
yeah, and
wiping
it's
them all
like
out, thinking downstream.
it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's literally like there's a giant dam, and then it just broke and let all this water come rushing down, and we see and we see multiple horses, what it looks like in the water, like formed out of water,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not just a visual effect, by the way. That is Arwen casting a spell using magic,
Yeah.
and like even in the books, like that's how it happened. Like it wasn't just like for us as a visual seeing horses. It was like horses formed out of water in the water. That's part of her magic.
Gotcha. Um, but yeah, and it just wipes them all downstream. She then looks at
Poor
Frodo.
horsies.
Yeah, even though, yeah. She looks at Frodo and kind of gets down, and he's barely clinging on.
Yeah.
And she begs him not to give in. She uses some magic, basically saying like a prayer that the grace in her be given to him, let him be saved.
Yeah,
And
and
he slips away. She throws him in the river. The end. Sponsor break. Well, anyway, Evan.
really, Jacob.
I what?
Sponsor break.
Well, anyway, returning.
Real quick, returning
Yeah.
from our sponsor before we continue in the film as well.
Okay.
Just for clarification on this, because
Uh-huh.
again, the whole time jump stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Because the way it looks is Arwen rode, found them at night, and then rode, and it looks like it's kind of morning-ish, maybe noonish, right?
Yeah.
It's been a couple days.
Okay. Yeah.
just for clarification, as you know, they had said they're like 7 days from Rivendell or 5 days from Rivendell.
6. You were beating around
Six,
it
yeah,
completely.
whatever. 6 days from Rivendell,
Okay.
and she's pretty close at this point. So like Frodo has been holding on and like resisting this poison for days.
Yeah.
Like to say he's had it rough is an understatement.
Yeah.
He's still a little piece of crap, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
But
He should have been poisoned a little bit longer.
um, well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. But the significance of that though
Hmm.
is because like we saw it with Keeley in the Hobbit film, right?
Yeah.
He got that Morgul poison and whatnot,
Right.
and that was only like a day, maybe two. And that's how far he was when he finally got when Tariel showed up and healed him.
Right.
Right, like he was very far gone. I would say almost as much as Frodo. But Frodo has been like this for
A couple more days than Bilbo was.
at least a couple more days. I would almost say a week because we
Jeez.
don't know how much time has passed from him getting stabbed to them getting to the three trolls, right? The three stone trolls.
Yeah.
We don't know really how much time has passed there. So I would say it wouldn't be outlandish to say that he's been battling this poison for a good week. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't
like
be
it's been a while.
too far-fetched. No.
And the
Um,
fact that he's been able to last this long is very significant.
yeah. But Frodo is not dead. He has not been cast into the river. He
Unfortunately.
actually awakens in a very comfy looking bed, and he's next to Gandalf, which, how much time has passed here? Because, like, we do have a little bit of it's like, well, how Gandalf got to this point? It's like we get an explanation of
Yeah,
what happened, but like,
and
really, how much time has passed? I mean,
well,
probably at least
and
another
the event,
couple
the whole
days.
thing with time too, right, is because obviously Gandalf left the Shire, you know, and met up with Saruman, and they had that whole bunch of events.
Mm-hmm.
All I could really say on time wise is, like I said, it took about a month to get from the Shire to Rivendell. So during that month time, we saw all the stuff that Frodo and Sam and Pippin and Merry, and then Strider, who joined them, what they went through. And
Mm-hmm.
then we saw some scenes of Gandalf as well. All of those events are kind of happening within that month time span.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I would say from when Frodo kind of passes out to when he wakes up here, it's
Yeah.
been a couple days, but we don't really have a
Yeah.
good time reference of like where Frodo and them were at from when Gandalf escaped Isengard. We don't have a good time reference there.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, Frodo awakens. Gandalf is sitting there. He's smoking his pipe. Frodo asks what happened, why Gandalf didn't meet them. He just says he was delayed. We do
Which is
see.
funny. Which is funny because in the very beginning of the film, Gandalf says,
The
"A wizard is
always
never
on time.
late,
Or, yeah.
nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to."
Yeah,
And now he's contradicting himself.
man.
Gosh
But
dang it, Gandalf.
we do see what happened to him. We see that Gandalf was being tossed around by Saruman. Says that there's only one Lord of the Ring, and he does not share power. Kind of being like trying to. This is Gandalf speaking, trying to tell Saruman, like, dude, there's no siding with this guy. You're gonna still like perish, you know.
Yeah, and
And
one thing that's not very emphasized on or
yeah,
even mentioned is Saruman's not siding with Sauron, mind you. He is, in a sense.
yeah,
Like, he's helping Sauron, yes. But what Saruman is truly after is the ring for himself, not the ring for Sauron.
okay,
Saruman wants the ring for himself, so he's going to help Sauron until he can get the ring.
yeah.
And once he gets the ring, all bets are off.
Hmm. But yeah, so that happens, and then we see that moth return. An eagle swoops in. Gandalf leaps onto its back and escapes, And
And
Saruman
the
says,
eagle's back breaks and they plummet to their deaths.
yeah, and they plop right next to Roid Rage Whoopi Goldberg, and she's just like staring at him,
And he
being
starts
like,
devouring them.
he just starts eating it. Yeah, and then we see like this just giant rotisserie eagle, and then Gandalf is just kind of over in a pit, and they're just stabbing him multiple times, and like, yeah, it's not a good scene. Um, oh wait,
Anyways,
nope, sorry, we actually have the wrong version here. So the extended version, not the wackadoodle version, is that Saruman says, "So you have chosen death," which another meme moment because obviously this movie has so many of those.
yeah.
But anyway, so Gandalf escapes. The eagle brings
And
Gandalf to safety.
yeah, this is we get a little bit of a reasoning or explanation of how Gandalf gets to Rivendell so fast.
Yeah.
Because another visual map time, right? We had essentially the Shire, Bree, and Rivendell kind of in a straight line going east and west, with Rivendell being right alongside a mountain. You follow that mountain down south, heading south for hundreds of miles.
Uh huh.
At the very southern end of this mountain range is Isengard.
Okay.
So, like, Gandalf is a long ways away from Rivendell. And so up until this point, it's like, well, how did he get back to Rivendell so fast? Well, he was flying on an eagle.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry about terrain when the eagle can just fly over it.
Right. But in comes Sam saying that they were worried sick. We then meet Elrond, who is welcoming Frodo to Rivendell. Obviously, we have met Elrond before, and we've been to
Yeah.
Rivendell before, but this is, their formal greeting to here. Frodo and Sam wander around, and they meet back up with Merry and Pippin. They then see Bilbo, which has returned to Rivendell and is here. And he shows Frodo his book, There and Back Again, which is The Hobbit.
Yeah, and
He's
so
written his book.
the last time we saw Bilbo, just as a reminder, was 17 years ago, right? And for just a little insight for Bilbo, over those 17 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like he went to Rivendell. Over those 17 years, he stopped in Rivendell. He went all the way back to the Lonely Mountain and visited with his friends in the Lonely Mountain. He explored some more. He went on more adventures and then settled down in Rivendell. So, like, and we don't really get the whole lot on, like, the adventures that Bilbo went on over those 17 years, but, like, he's had more adventures. He's done more stuff. He's seen more of the world. And decided then, as he's getting older and as age is finally catching up with him, that he's going to settle down in Rivendell.
Yeah. But they chat a little bit. Bilbo had wanted to revisit and see the Lonely Mountain again, but age has caught up with him.
Yeah.
Frodo says he's not like Bilbo, not as strong as what I think he's implying. But Sam says that he's ready to leave, and he's ready to kind of get out of there, go back home, I think is what they mean, or maybe they just mean go along there. Well, no, because at this point, I think they think that they're done, don't they?
Yeah, and so it was because, like, when Frodo first finds out that this ring is the One Ring and the whole significance behind it, to his understanding, it's we got to get it somewhere safe.
Right, and
where
Rivendell
Sauron
is
can't
safe
get it.
to them.
And so, for, completely understandable reasons, Rivendell seems like a pretty safe place to hide the ring.
Yeah.
And so, and as Sam says, he's like, as he's preparing, he's like, I'm ready to go back home. I'm ready to get back to the gardens. We did our adventure. We did what we had to do. We're good. Our adventure's over.
Yeah. So yeah, and so he's ready to leave. Elrond and Gandalf discuss what there is to do. Saruman is an enemy. He's breeding orcs and goblins, making an army in the caverns of Isengard. The enemy's target is Rivendell. So the ring cannot stay there. It's dangerous. It cannot stay in Rivendell.
Yeah. Well, because And because Elrond, even as you said, like Elrond says, like Sauron's armies are massing. Like he's got his eye fixed on Rivendell. He's like he knows where Rivendell is at this point.
Yeah.
Sauron does, and it's been hidden for a while, but he now knows where it's at. Like they can't keep the ring here; it's not safe here. And as Elrond even says, like the elves don't have the force, the might, the armies to battle Isengard and Mordor. Like they can't. They just don't have the manpower.
Yeah.
You know.
Um, yeah.
And
But go ahead. Sorry.
sorry, in this scene as well, uh, Gandalf kind of explains a little bit that Saruman has crossed orcs with goblin men
Mm-hmm.
to make his army. Um, and I honestly I don't know if he's being literal when he says goblin men, or I don't know if he actually means like a cross between goblins and people, or if that's just how he's referring to the goblins.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But in rides a few people, and we do recognize Legolas being one of them. We do see another one being a dwarf, and we don't really get the others' names yet. But we just
Yeah,
see
so
an
we
array of
see.
people.
Sorry, real quick. Yes, we see it. We see a man ride in,
Uh huh.
um, who is Lord Eddard Stark rides in, and then um, what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Orlando Bloom.
That's not his name in the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Shoot.
Well, I lost it.
Jack
Continuing on, Orlando
Harkness.
Bloom rides in.
J.K. That's
We see
Doctor
him
Who.
arrive with some elves. We see several dwarves walk in. And one thing to clarify with when we see the dwarves walk in,
Uh huh.
it zooms in on one specific face, right?
Yeah.
But if you look to his left, there's an older dwarf there, and just so everybody knows, that is Gloin, part of the 13, the company of 13 from The Hobbit.
Oh.
Just so you know.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
And so with that information, we can then
Yeah.
assume that other dwarf is Gimli. Because in The Hobbit, we get that scene with Legolas, like, who's this? A goblin mutant? That's my wee lad, Gimli.
Yeah.
We can kind of make that assumption at this
Yeah.
point.
But yeah, in rides them. Gandalf says that they must place their hope in men.
Yeah.
We then
Because
we go ahead. God
because
bless America.
Elrond kind of mentions like the elves can't do this. The elves we're leaving, like because the elves are leaving Middle Earth, as
Yeah.
I kind of discussed when we saw those elves in the first part, right?
Yeah, doing the
Um,
Life Day Wookiee celebration.
yeah, and Gandalf's like who are you gonna turn to? Like who's gonna help
Who
you
you
with this?
gonna
The
call?
dwarves, they're greedy.
I had to.
Like the dwarves are greedy. They don't care about other people's troubles. All they want to do is mine and get more wealth.
Hmm.
And as you said, that's when Gandalf says, we'll put our hope in men.
Yeah.
Elrond kind of talks back on men, saying that they're weak. The blood of Numenor is spent, or essentially the blood of the kings.
Hmm.
The line of the kings, of like Gondor, which we saw a brief scene of that when Gandalf rode there to figure out about the ring. And Numenor was another country, and I talked about that back in The Hobbit, so I won't go back down that rabbit hole.
Hmm.
If you guys don't remember that, go back and listen to the Hobbit podcast episodes.
Yeah.
I believe it's in the first podcast episode of Unexpected Journey. But that line has essentially died down. So, like, men are weak, and we shouldn't trust them, is essentially what Elrond's saying. And it's because of men that the ring was not destroyed in the first place.
Hmm.
And we get a little bit of a cutscene back to the Battle of the Last Alliance with
Yeah.
Isildur cutting the ring off of Sauron's hand.
Right, and we do see that Elrond was there at that initial battle. And he had led Isildur to Mount Doom to cast the ring into the fire and destroy it. Because, like we've said, Mount Doom is where it was created, so thrown back
This is
in.
another
We'll
meme moment
destroy
right
it.
here too.
What was that?
This is another one of those meme moments as well.
Yeah. Um, but he fell victim to it instead. He wanted it, the greed and the temptation of it got to him,
Yeah.
and he says no. Elrond should have just chucked Isildur into Mount Doom.
Should have just
I just
yeeted him in there.
see, okay, and I'm so happy that you use that terminology, because I was scrolling through TikTok and I wanna promote this person. Have you seen this? Do you know where I'm heading with this?
I don't.
Okay. There is an individual on TikTok who claims to be the resident Lord of the Rings facts person or something like that. His name's Don Marshall. I'm gonna do my best to throw his information in the description because I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, can I promote this? Because he made something that I want to show and bring to your attention. And he's like, oh yeah, go for it. So he was doing a video, and he was like saying something. He's like, dude, you can't just throw your friend into a mountain. And a bunch of comments were just like, yeet Isildur, yeet him into the mountain, do it, And so what he did was he took a T-shirt, and on it he translated a phrase into Elvish and wrote it on the T-shirt across the chest. What is this phrase? Hashtag Yeet Isildur. And it's like, it looks like it's just perfect, like, it's just got the Elvish text and whatnot, but that's what it means.
That's awesome.
I really want one. But I for sure, at least, I don't know if I'm going to buy one, but I wanted to let you guys know in case you wanted one and all that, because I thought that was,
Yeet Isildur.
it's hilarious. I love it. But yeah, so anyway, check out, Don Marshall there and everything. And go buy a shirt.
For serious reasons on why Isildur couldn't just have gotten yeeted into the fire.
What did you say?
I said for serious reasons on why Isildur could not get yeeted into the fire.
Yeah.
For a serious part of it, just think about what would have happened if if Elrond had thrown Isildur into the fire. Okay, an elven king just murdered a human king, a king of men. Guess what? Now they're at war with each other. Their army's depleted. Their army's terribly tired from battle. But guess what? They get to fight again in this terribly hot, dry, disgusting place because one elven king decided that he was just going to yeet another king into the fire.
Okay, but it was for good reason. So would the payoff really be... I mean, I don't know.
Okay, well, Isildur's son was at that battle. You think Isildur's son's just going to be like, oh, you just murdered my father, but it was for a good reason, so I'm not going to do anything about it?
You wipe out his whole bloodline, dude.
That happens anyways.
Well, yeah, but at least the ring is,
But no, like, if you want to take it to a serious point, which I already did, but like, Elrond can't just like kill Isildur right there. Like, that's just gonna start another war.
Okay, reasonably, obviously it's not the best choice, but at the same time, we could avoid everything that's been going on.
Now, if you were to say Elrond knocks Isildur out, grabs the ring and throws it into the lava, that's completely different.
Oh.
Like, there's gonna be some bad blood there, but he's not dead.
I stand by it.
At the end of the day, I'm sure Elrond could convince Isildur that it was for his own good. But you just throw Isildur and the ring into the fire, like, that's just gonna start another war.
I stand by it. Yeet Isildur. Well, that is where we have chosen to end this part of our coverage. It's kind of mid-recording, so it's not as I guess natural as usual, but this is going to be where we cut this one. So we'll pick up next time, just right in line with the conversation we just had. We'll pick it back up in our part 3. So, see ya then.
Peace.
Deuces.